Welcome to today's live stream. I'm going to get started in a minute. I just need to let everybody know that the live stream is going on right now. Okay, Hayden, what's up? I'm going to get started on today's live stream right now. And today's live stream was inspired by a comment I got on one of my other live streams or one of my videos where someone asked me what male life skills are. Now, I talk in depth about male life skills in my book, The Man Crisis, which you can now get in paperback, Kindle, Smashwords, the iBookstore, and now it's available on Google Play as well. So you can get The Man Crisis on Google Play right now because I just put it up there. And again, it's also available on Smashwords and the iBookstore. So in The Man Crisis, I talk about male life skills. And most people think that life skills don't have a gender. However, both men and women need different sets of life skills in order to survive in the world. Unfortunately, we have not had much effort placed in teaching boys male life skills due to 50 years of feminism, because according to the feminist, both boys and girls are the same. So the feminist teaching everybody that boys and girls are the same has taken over American and Western culture. And because they have taken over American and Western culture, most people believe that boys can learn the same life skills that a woman can learn. However, boys often wind up losing at the end of the day when they do not learn male life skills. And male life skills are completely different than female life skills because boys need to learn different life skills in order to survive in the world. And male life skills can only be taught by a boy by another man because only a man knows what a boy is going to need to survive in the world as a man. So most boys these days, due to circumstances such as the rise of the single parent household, due to out of wedlock births, and due to divorce, they aren't getting male life skills and in the home, and they aren't being taught male life skills in places like schools or being taught male life skills in places like your college campuses. And because boys are not being taught male life skills, this is why a lot of young boys wind up malfunctioning, falling apart when they grow up to become young men. And the reason why they wind up falling apart and malfunctioning is because they are raised in female headed households run by single mothers and divorced mothers, and they are also socialized in gynocentric environments like public schools, which are primarily run by females. And because the women there believe that boys and girls are the same, what happens is these boys are not socialized with those male life skills that they're going to need in order to survive out here. I'm sorry, I didn't put up the right link um, for the Man Crisis on Google Play, but I'll put it up right now. I'm going to try to put it up right now. And that's the link to the Man Crisis on Google Play, where it is right now. And you can pick up the Man Crisis also, again, in paperback, Kindle formats, and Smashwords and the iBookstore. And it's a book where I go in depth on the male life skills that men need to survive in the world. And again, those male life skills are not taught at an early age. And usually a man has to start learning those male life skills at an early age if he hopes to be able to learn how to survive in the world. Because the first way a boy learns male life skills is primarily by having that father in the home. Now, the father in the home is very important for the boys developing male life skills because the father, by being there, models manhood for the boy. And the first male life skill a boy learns is to learn how to have manhood modeled for him. So by seeing that man in the home, that gives him an example of a man, and it also gives him an example of male behavior, and it shows a boy how he is supposed to be when he grows up. It gives him an example of what type of man he should be when he grows up, and it gives him an example of how a man is supposed to be when he grows up. So the first example of a male life skill is shown to a boy by his father being in the home. And that's the first male life skill a boy gets, is just seeing a father in the home being the father and modeling male behavior in front of him. Because things that the father teaches a boy by him just observing is how he socializes with the family and how he socializes with people. So he gets a direct behavior being shown to him, and other behaviors he gets shown to him are by his mother when she interacts with him. And the second male life skill he learns from his mother in the home as related to the father is the acknowledgement of male authority. That's the second life skill that is extremely important for a boy growing up, is to learn how to acknowledge male authority. And when you have a mother and a father in the home, and the mother submits to the father's authority, and she submits to him in the home as a leader and authority figure under God's natural order, what that does is show that boy a model for how he is supposed to work in society. And it shows him that he has a place in God's natural order and that he has to follow his place in God's natural order as a child. And he has to acknowledge the male authority. Now, this male authority is a life skill that is very important for young boys to learn at an early age, because when a boy learns to acknowledge male authority, he learns respect for other men, and he also learns how to value other men in society. So he's learning to respect the leadership of another man, respect the authority of another man, and learning how to respect the order as related to other men. And he's learning these life skills, and these life skills are going to be very important to him when he gets older, because when you learn how to respect male authority at an early age, this is going to be very important for you when you enter places like the American workplace or the Western workplace, which are controlled by male leaders like bosses. And it's also important to you as related to dealing with authority figures like law enforcement. So, a boy learning the male life skill of male authority early on learns that he has to respect male authority early on. And because he learns to respect male authority, he does not get in the face of male authority the way boys from single parent households get in the face of authority figures, because boys who grow up in female headed households, usually when they run into male authority, because they have not been taught the life skill of male authority, they see other men as competitors to them and rivals to them, and they go out of their way to challenge those males because they don't understand that a man who is older than them, you need to respect his leadership, you need to respect his authority, and you need to respect the power of his position, because this man has more power than you, he has a higher title than you, and you need to show respect for his position as a male authority figure. But boys who grow up in female headed households, what happens because they learn female life skills and feminist life skills is that they learn that they don't have to submit to male authority figures, they don't have to respect male authority figures, and they don't have to acknowledge the position of male authority figures. And when a boy grows up learning this, what happens to that boy is that he goes out here and tries to challenge male authority figures, and those male authority figures then show him the consequences of his actions. And unfortunately, because he grows up in that female-headed household, he never learns the consequences and ramifications of his actions as related to male authority figures. He's always bumping his head and wondering, why do I keep getting into trouble? But he doesn't understand the reason why you are getting into trouble is because you keep challenging male authority figures, and you keep trying to deal with male authority figures in the same way you would deal with someone who you would consider to be on your level, when in actuality, male authority figures are on a higher level than you. So this is a life skill that many boys aren't getting right now. And because they're not getting that male life skill of learning how to deal with male authority, this is why so many boys out here are not able to keep jobs. This is why so many boys wind up getting arrested, because in a lot of cases they get in the face of law enforcement and authority figures like police officers, FBI agents, and government officials, and they escalate a situation that could have been just a couple of questions into a major incident. They start getting personal and start getting violent, and this costs them because they don't understand how important male authority is as related to their everyday lives. Now, another life skill that a lot of boys don't get at an early age is discipline. And discipline is something that, again, a father teaches his son by just being there and being in the home, because discipline is something that the father teaches, one, through his own behavior by having self-control, and two, the father teaches discipline by establishing structure on the boy at an early age. So the father, just by being there and showing how he can handle himself in situations with conflict, he is showing discipline by not reacting to things. And the reason why he doesn't react to things is because men are naturally wired to be logical. And because men are naturally wired to be logical, they learn to have the self-control not to react to a situation, but to respond to a situation after doing some critical thinking. So a man will think critically and he will have discipline. And when he models this behavior for his son also learns how to have discipline and be able to control himself in certain situations. And this discipline relates to him learning how to work through his emotions, because a boy who is his father in his life, he is going to learn how to navigate through his emotions and work through his feelings with his when in any situation. So a boy who is out here, what he's going to do when he has a father in his life, he will understand that yes, he has feelings about things, but he will not act on those feelings. So a boy, when he's out here and he has no father in his life, he is going to learn how to be emotional because his mother was emotional. And because his mother was emotional, and women are naturally wired to be emotional, instead of him learning how to respond to a situation, he is going to react to a situation. And when you react to a situation, you act impulsively without thinking about the consequences of your actions. And that can have a disastrous impact on a man long term, because when a man goes out here and he reacts to a situation, what happens is he winds up making things worse for himself, like in the case of boys who run into police officers and law enforcement. By them getting emotional and confrontational, it might lead to them winding up getting arrested or even possibly wind up losing their lives as the result of them getting into the face of a law enforcement officer and challenging their authority. So when you have a man who does not learn those male life skills, what happens with that man is he winds up putting himself in situations where he winds up messing up his life or putting his own health and safety at risk. And again, that is because he does not have that core foundation of male life skills. And the core to those foundations of those male life skills, again, is that father in the home and him teaching that boy just by his presence something to be a model for manhood, and then also teaching that boy things like the acknowledgement of male authority, and then teaching him discipline and self-control. So those are core foundational points as related to male life skills, and that's what all the other male life skills are built on. They're built on those concepts, again, of the modeling of manhood. They're built on the acknowledgement of male authority, and they are built on the ability of a man to have discipline and self-control. And discipline and self-control, again, are taught by a father by the way he behaves in front of his son as he interacts with his wife or the mother of his children, or even other women or even other men in the community. Because when he socially interacts and he has his son with him, what he's doing is showing his boy, again, a model for manhood, and then showing him how to be social with other people, and showing him the male life skill of how you are supposed to conduct yourself in social situations. So that's what a boy is learning from his father. But most women these days, especially single mothers, do not understand the importance of male life skills on the boy. Now, the next life skill that a boy learns from a father is that he learns how to have a work ethic. And a work ethic is a life skill that a boy learns just by seeing his father every day going out and getting up to go to work. So what the boy is learning from his father as related to a male life skill is that, one, a man is a leader in the household. Two, a man is a head of a household. And three, a man is supposed to provide for his household by taking care of his mother and taking care of himself. So when the father gets up and he goes up to go to work, what he's showing his son is that there is a model for his example for him to follow, and showing him that when you are an adult, you have to follow a certain routine in order to get things done. So that's another life skill a boy is learning as he's seeing his father get up to go to work. And his work ethic is him learning the skill of routine. Because routine, what it teaches is that there are things that you need to do every day in order to get things done. And these are things that a boy learns from his father is routine. He learns that every day at 6 o'clock, his father gets up in the morning, he takes a shower, he gets dressed, and he then goes to meet his wife at the door to go to work. And these are things that he's learning every day from his father. And that teaches him that he has to follow a routine every day. And that routine, again, is shown to him by his father. And then his mother then reinforces that as the boy grows up by taking him to school every day, showing him that there is a routine for his work. And then when the father comes home, what he does is he further reinforces the routine by spending time with the boy and then showing him that there's a routine as well, as related to his homework, as related to his chores at home, and related to the things that he needs to do every day. So that routine is a male life skill. And again, that ties right directly to the logic that most men have overall, because most men, again, are logical and they do things based on routine so that they can have consistent results every day. And this is something most women don't understand about men, is that the reason why we do everything the same every day is because we want to have consistency, and that consistency allows us to establish another life skill, which is standards. Because without routine and without consistency, we can't have a standard for things. And this is another life skill that only a man understands, because men understand that in order for things to remain consistent, there has to be a standard. So most men, that's a life skill that they learn, because if they want to have a certain level or quality of life, they understand they have to have a standard. So when you have men out here and they are in the home, what they do by getting up and going to work every day, what they do by paying the bills every day, every month, what they do by going out and doing what needs to be done around the home, when the mother has done the cleaning and the cooking, what that man is doing is he's establishing a standard, and it's that standard that allows everybody to have consistency as related to their routines, and it allows everybody to see that there's a certain level in order for everybody to enjoy a comfortable lifestyle, because it's that standard that allows everything to function and allows everybody to have a certain quality of life. So that's another life skill that most women don't really understand, especially women from single mother households. And that's why most neighborhoods with single mothers and are matriarchal or ghettos, because those men are not there to maintain that routine or establish that standard for a quality of life and a standard for living. And that's why these neighborhoods become ghettos, because without that man there to have that, to keep doing things the same way and keep doing things by routine, there is no standard that is established in his home. And when you have multiple men in a community, what they do is establish a standard for that neighborhood as related to cleanliness, as related to safety, as related to community, and as related to resources and the allocation of resources, that everybody enjoys a certain standard of living. And again, that is all due to boys who have grown up in homes with fathers and grown up in homes where they have learned male life skills. It is the male life skills that allow a community to be a clean, safe, and habitable place, because again, the men who are out here working, they want a certain standard of living for their neighborhood, They want a certain level of cleanliness. They want a certain level of comfort, and they want a certain standard for their children to be safe and an environment for their children to grow up safe. So they are establishing that standard. And when you go to places like the Black community, the reason why it is unsafe is because there are no men to be the standard bearers, and there is no man there to establish a standard for the things that people need or maintaining a level of safety for everyone. So a man, again, by his very presence, he is teaching strong male life skills to his son, and it's his son that learns why these standards need to be kept up, because the daughters and the mothers, they don't really teach these life skills. They get the benefits of them, but it's the boys who understand why we need these standards in place, because it's those standards that allow everyone to enjoy the lifestyles that they have. Now, the other male life skill a boy learns is the ability to think critically. And the ability to think critically, it relates again to the logical thinking of a man. And the male life skill of critical thinking is where a man learns how to really take a moment to think in the long term about his decisions and his actions, and understand that his decisions have consequences out here. Now, a man, in most cases, the reason why he has to think critically is because he understands that he has to take care of himself, and he is the only person who can take care of himself, and that if he doesn't take care of himself, he will not be able to take care of his family. So he has to start thinking in the long term, and he has to think long term, because if he cannot provide for the needs of the family, then the family will not be able to survive. So a father has to think critically about his decisions and his actions. He has to understand that when he goes out here and spends money, it doesn't just affect him when he has a family, it also affects his wife, it also affects his children. And this is a life skill that's important, because every decision he makes has consequences on other people. So that's why a critical thinker understands that there are concepts like cause and effect, and that for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. And because there are reactions, he has to respond. And as a critical thinker, he has to take time to think about his decisions before he makes them, because they have long-term consequences on the entire family, not just himself. So that's another life skill that a lot of boys aren't getting, because they are in these single mother households, and because they're in single mother households as related to either divorce or related to out of wedlock births, what happens to those young boys is they learn how to think in the short term. And because they see their mother being emotional, they learn how to think in the short term, and they make short term decisions that wind up costing them in the long term, where they don't benefit from, they get a short term benefit from those decisions based on feelings, but they don't think critically enough about those decisions and the long-term impact they can have on themselves or others. And this is why so many boys who grow up in single mother households, they wind up going out here and getting into fights, or they wind up shooting people, because they act on impulse, they act on their feelings, but they don't think about things like cause and effect, nor do they think about the consequences of their actions or the ramifications of their actions on others. And a critical thinker, they understand that there's a bigger picture as related to things, and that's what makes them think about their actions and thinking about ways where they don't react to a situation. However, they go out of their way to respond to a situation, and in their response, they think about the long-term decisions as related to their actions. Thank you, Benny G, for the donation. I really appreciate it. And if you guys want to donate to the super chat, I really appreciate it. Thank you, Darius, for the donation. What was my relationship with my father like? It was one of those things where I just had to learn how to respect his leadership and his authority. And as I grew older, I began to respect all of his decisions, and I began to respect him as a man. I mean, I had to learn early on to respect who he was, and I learned that, it wasn't the closest of relationships, but I respected him when he was on this earth, and I grew to appreciate him after 2008 when I went to see him one Father's Day, and that's not I saw all of what he was doing for me and my family, but that we learned how to really work things out, and while we weren't close, we understood respect for each other. I'm gonna go through the chats. I'm glad to see you here, R. Charles, Benny G, what's up? Ebon, Enraged Rage, glad to see you here for the first time. D. Woodward, glad to see you here. And thank you, Benny G, for the. I'm trying to do my best with this content because so many guys out here, they're not getting male life skills. They are not getting the male survival skills. And when I look at this lost generation, when I see out here, especially with a lot of these guys out here who are growing up without fathers, they aren't getting these skills. And what's happening is they are becoming extremely frustrated, extremely angry. And this is why we've seen this escalation of violence, like I talk about in my videos for the season of the simp. And the season of the simp is something I talk about because I've seen this generation of people who I did talk about as these children of the corn, how they grew up like stalks in these matriarchal homes and these gynocentric environments. And this is really is something when I see it, I understand that this happened because we devalued men in our society over the last 50 years. We've devalued fathers over the last 50 years. And we've devalued what the role of the father in the home was. And we did not value the impact of fathers in the home. And me starting to understand what my brother and my father had taught me, I'm starting to understand the value of men in society, understanding the value of fathers in the home, and valuing the male life skills they taught me. And that's one of the reasons why I wrote The Man Crisis, because I wanted the guys out here who are frustrated and angry to understand what male life skills were and what they were missing, and understand what having a father in their life could do for them, and to understand why they are feeling frustrated and angry because they weren't getting the information that they needed from their fathers because they got it from their mothers. It's like one of my viewers said in the comments section of a video I did today. He said that it's like the yin without the yang. It was Spore Hacker. He said it was yin without the yang. And yeah, that you need both of them in order to get balance. And in order for a boy to go out in the world, he needs both skills from the masculine and he needs skills from the feminine. So he needs both the skills from the mother and the father in order to go outside. And this is something boys aren't getting because they grow up in these homes under feminism and gynocentrism. And they grow up not understanding that you need these male life skills to survive. Now, another male life skill that is very important for a man, in addition to the critical thinking, is problem solving. And most men, because we are logical, we are natural problem solvers. And we are looking for solutions to a problem because we understand that once we get a solution to a problem, then we can move on to move on in our lives and move on to the next task. And problem solving is something that a boy learns from his father, because his father's main job as the leader of a home is to go out here and solve problems every day. I mean, the father's job when he's at work is to solve problems and get things done. And in the home, his job is to get things done. So problem solving is something that men are naturally adept to do. Unfortunately, when you have a boy who grows up in a home with a single mother, a divorced mother, what happens is instead of him learning the logical sequence of problem solving as related to routine, what he does is he learns how to just sit there and remain in a codependent situation. Because many boys who grow up in single mother households, what they do is they learn codependency. And in the world of codependency, they learn to be the victim and they learn to look for people to solve their problems for them. And that's not the way a man does things. Again, the female is always looking for somebody else to solve her problems. And this is what they raise their boys to learn how to do, look for somebody else to solve their problems instead of taking responsibility and solving the problem. But when you have a father in the home, the first thing he teaches the boy is that a man's job is to solve problems. And the reason why he solves problems is because, again, he wants the family to move forward. And the reason why he wants the family to move forward is because he knows that the family, in order for it to function and meet the goals of the household and meet the standards for the household, things have to be done in order to move things forward. And when you have women running the household, what the boy learns is to wallow in self-pity. He learns how to be the victim, and he learns how to just sit there and not try to make any efforts to improve things, but to look for somebody else to improve things, because most women get their needs met by men. And because they get their needs met by men, what they do is look for a man to solve their problems. And another thing that happens in homes where you don't have a father to teach problem solving is that people keep going around in vicious circles. Now, when you have a man in the home and he's teaching the male life skill of problem solving, we learn that you put a period at the end of things and you move on. Unfortunately, when you have homes that are gynocentric or run by single mothers, divorced mothers, or homes with beta male fathers, what you learn how to do is wind up in this cycle of codependency where you keep being the victim and you keep trying to use the problem as a crutch in order to get attention from others or to try to get the approval of others, and you never learn how to solve a problem. So instead of you looking for a solution, you learn to depend on the problem. And environments that I've seen this go on are places like the comic book industry, where I saw a lot of this going on as related to the whole Comicsgate thing. And no one wanted to solve the problem of the declining comic book industry. And I believe that's due to so many guys growing up in these single mother households or these divorced households. And these people who work in the comic book industry, they believe they need the problem in order to get attention from others. Whereas a person who is healthy, they're going to say to themselves, and grew up in a home with a father, they're going to say, I don't need this problem. What I want is a solution because I want to move forward. But people who don't have fathers and don't learn male life skills, they need problems because they believe that this problem is the only way they can get the attention of others. And this is what happens to a lot of males out here who grow up in single mother households and households, again, with the divorced mother and in households with the beta male father, is they learn to keep needing this problem, and this problem keeps growing and getting worse. And they need the problem because they like the drama they're getting from the problem. They like the attention they're getting from the problem. But homes where there's a healthy man in the home, he's going to shut down the drama because he understands that drama is counterproductive to maintaining a home. And he understands that drama is counterproductive to maintaining structure in a home. Because in order for him to have structure, he has to have order. And that's another male life skill that men can only teach, because men live in a world of structure, they live in a world of order, and they live in a world of standards. And again, because they live in a world of rules, structure, order, and standards, they understand that everything whenever there's a problem, things need to be solved. And the reason why they need to be solved is because you want to move things along smoothly. Now, there are obstacles that people run into in life. And again, when you have male life skills, you know how to get through that adversity. And this male life skill that men learn as they're about adversity is related to discipline. And this is the ability to persevere. And men teach boys how to persevere, that when they fall down, like when they're little, they teach them to get back up. And this is a major life skill that only a man can teach another boy, because he teaches it by indirectly, again, his own actions. Because when you're a man out here, you are used to failing. And instead of you falling completely apart, you learn how to get back up. And that's all related to your character, and that's all related to your resolve. And this is something that a man can teach a boy, because he has to do it almost every day. And the reason why he has to do it every day, because if he falls down, the entire family falls down. So a man has to go out here and he has to maintain his resolve out here, and he has to keep persevering. And the reason why he perseveres is because he understands that if he wants to do something in this life, he's got to keep pushing if he hopes to get towards a goal. For example, I wanted to write ever since I was 9 years old. I've been trying to write stories ever since I was 9 years old, and I always wanted to get a book published. And even though I got turned down on multiple books by multiple editors, I did not let that deter me. And even though people said that going out and publishing your own books was some sort of negative, I still went out here and persevered, and I learned how to do page late. After I signed up with a print-on-demand company, and I did 2 books with them, I decided I wanted to get more control over the process. So I went out here and I learned how to make my own books. Like this Man Crisis, I learned how ISBNs worked. I learned how page layouts worked. I learned how to make cover designs and PDFs. And I went out here and I learned how to make my own books and publish my own books under my own imprint. And that took almost over 30 years of discipline and resolve, even in the face of all sorts of criticism, all sorts of hostility, and even all sorts of insults. I still persevered, and I got books like The Man Crisis out, in addition to the books in the 2019 catalog, like John Haynes' Dark Succubus, Esteem Goddess of, and Isis, All That Glitters. All that was me having discipline and resolve and persevering in the face of adversity, in the face of criticism, in the face of hostility. And again, this is a life skill that I learned, and it's one that every boy has to learn. And it was one modeled to me by my father and modeled to me by my older brother. Now, I publish books like Isis, All That Glitters, but Chris L. Brown, he creates Omega Black, some great black manga, and that's on Amazon right now. And if you want to get that, you can get that on Amazon, along with Isis, All That Glitters, Esteem Goddess of, and John Haynes' Dark Succubus. I really want to get the sales up on my fiction, so I would really appreciate if you guys picked up some of my fiction. I'm going to go into the next male life skill that only a man can teach. And again, this relates to the whole perseverance, which is a resolve. And resolve, again, is that ability to just keep pushing and keep pushing in the face of rejection, keep pushing in the face of failure, keep pushing in the face of loss, keep pushing in the face of things not going, is that man will continue to push because he sees that there's something more important that he wants to accomplish. Now, I remember back in 2007, and when my first laptop died, and I had written the screenplay all about Marilyn, Cassandra Cookbook, The Temptation of John Haynes, and I could have given up at that point, but instead of me giving up at that point, I maintained my resolve that even though I had no laptop, I went out here and I got some loose leaf paper and I started revising my scripts with loose leaf paper. And again, I had this goal that I wanted to go out here and publish books, and I persevered, and I kept the resolve even though I had no money and I was living on $60 a month I was getting from a family member. I still had that resolve to keep pushing towards the goal I had to going out here and publishing my second book. And again, that's resolve, because men understand that there's something more important they want to accomplish, and the male life skill of resolve has them keeping their eye on the prize and keeping the eye on what they want to do. Darius, there is no risk behind me for the toy collection. This is much smaller than it was before. I sold a lot of pieces in order to pay for things like the Isis Wrath of the Cyber Goddess cover. And that's another male life skill that guys learn, is sacrifice. And when you're a man, you understand that in order to get something, you have to give something up. And one of the things I had to do in order to improve the quality of my books so that I could hire artists like Bill Walko to design covers like Isis All That Glitters and Esteem Goddess Of, and hire artists like Mike Williams to design John Haynes Dark Succubus, was I had to let something go in order to get something that I wanted. And back in 2014, I really wanted to hire Bill Walko, the artist who did the covers for Isis All That Glitters and Esteem Goddess Of, to design the cover for Isis Wrath of the Cyber Goddess. And I really wanted him to do it because he was a great artist and I enjoyed his work. So I went up to eBay and started selling parts of my toy collection and parts of my memorabilia collection in order to raise that money in order to go out here and do that. And again, when you're a man, you understand that in order to get something, you have to sacrifice something and you have to let go of something in order to get something greater. Now, this relates to another male life skill that is extremely important for a man, and that is vision. And vision is something that most men have that they teach boys, because a man is a long-term thinker. He's a long-term thinker. He's a long-term planner, and he's planning for the future of his family, and he plans for the future of his family so that they can have that quality of life, maintain that quality of life, and even be able to maintain that quality of life long after he's gone, and that his children and grandchildren can enjoy some measure of quality of life as related to him. So when you have a man out here, his vision is something that is very important. And this is something that most women, they don't think about when they choose a husband, because most women these days, under feminism, they believe that men are a disposable utility. And most women think that they can get many men and have many relationships with many men, not understanding that when you have a man and he has vision, he is somebody who is setting a course for the family. And that relates to another life skill that many boys aren't getting right now as related to vision, and that is the ability to see the big picture. Now, again, because men are logical and men are long-term thinkers, men can sit there and see a bigger picture, because men who are raised with fathers, they learn to see something greater and more important that they want to do, something greater and more important that they want to accomplish. And again, because they can see that big picture, they are willing to go out here and have the discipline to work towards the goals they want to accomplish, and they're willing to make the sacrifices that they need to make in order to accomplish what they want to accomplish. And these are things that men teach their boys so that they can understand about making sacrifices. Whereas a boy who grows up in a single mother household, what happens is most of those boys who grow up in single mother households, they don't learn how to have a vision for tomorrow, because their mother is living for today. And because their mother is living for today and is focused on short term, what happens is the boy himself learns to live for the short term. And because he's living for the short term, what happens to the boy is he does not learn how to have discipline to put things off so that he can have something for later on. He doesn't learn how to hold back so that he can have things to do later on. And he does not learn how to go out here and wait for things. He has no patience, which is another male life skill. And because he has no patience, he goes and rushes into things and he winds up losing at the long term. So when you have a boy who is out here and he has no father in his life, he doesn't have discipline, he doesn't have self-control, and he doesn't understand how these things relate to the bigger picture, and he doesn't really understand how these things relate to what he needs to do to build a future. And this is another thing that boys don't learn, and because they don't learn it, that's why we have boys who are out here, and if they get a paycheck, they're running to the jeans and sneakers store to go out here and buy a $200 pair of Jordans instead of laying out a budget for what they want to spend on as related to their everyday expenses and planning to save money to buy whatever they want and then have a savings later on. So because they don't learn that male life skill about big pictures, vision, and futures, what happens is these boys wind up going out here, even if they get money, they blow the money, and then they're looking for somebody else to give them money, not understanding that's not the way the world works for men, because the way the world works for men is completely different than the way it works for women. And because most of these boys have grown up learning these life skills that women use, they never learn how to function as a man. And again, the way the world works is different for a man than it is for a woman. And this is something boys in single mother households with female authority figures never learn. But a man who is in a home with a father, he's going to learn that the world works completely different for him than it does for women. And the reason why he's going to learn that is because his father is showing him that the world is different by the way he models his behavior and the example he shows those boys. And the thing that he's learning is that he has to go out here and work. He has to go out here and take care of business. And the business he does, again, allows the mother to be able to do her job, which is feeding and clothing and caring for the children. But the boy who grows up in the single mother household, he grows up in a home where he thinks that people are supposed to cater to him, because in most cases, the mother coddles him and the mother spoils him, and she's giving him everything he wants. But that's based on the way she does things, because she's used to men taking care of her. So she thinks she has to take care of the man. So that's what messes up a lot of boys out here, because they don't learn that life skill of having a vision, because that vision, again, is the thing that allows them to have the discipline and resolve. Now, the other male life skill boys don't learn in homes with single mothers is the ability to build. Now, every boy out here has a natural ability to build. And that is shown by things like what I do right now, again, with this action figure collection of mine. This is a form of building, because you have one action figure that is based on a group of characters like Marvel or DC, and you want to have all the characters that are a part of a team or a part of a group or a part of a group of series, and that is a form of building. So what you're doing is you are building something into taking one piece and putting it with another piece. That's a form of building. And boys learn building out here by their fathers, because their fathers go out here and they build. They build in different ways. They build a savings by saving money from their jobs. They build a home by buying a home and then having the home furnished and then has the family being cared for. They build things out here as related to furniture. Men are natural builders. And I saw that, again, modeled for me by my brother, who was a comic book collector, and he taught me how to build. And me learning how to build from him is how I learned about building things. And then I also learned by the toys I got, like Legos and Tinker Toys. And again, these are developing the natural building skills of a boy when he grows up to be a man. And a man has to learn how to build, because when you go out here and you when you want to do something in your life, you have to go out here and take the time to work on the building blocks, because things aren't going to be done overnight. So you're going to have to go out here and start slowly building those building blocks very slowly towards what you want to accomplish. And again, that is a natural skill that you learn. So that's a skill I learned from my brother early on with comic collecting and toy collecting. He taught me all about that. And that's how I learned about the value of things like action figures, because action figures like these, they do go up in value because people demand them and people want rarer figures, or they want different figures. So they have a value. So it's building, you learn how to build that way. And I learned about wealth through toy collecting and action figure collecting. And that was a life skill, again, taught to me by my brother, and another life skill that was taught to me by my father at an early age. I had talked to him about a savings bond, and he got me a savings bond when I was younger. And again, this is how I learned about building. And then as I took those building skills, again, I wanted to publish my first book. And now I'm up to about my 65th or 66th book. So I learned how to build, and that's how I learned how to become a publisher, and not just publish one book, but publish all the books of this 2019 catalog and books of part of the 2018 catalog. And again, male life skills teach you how to build, and they teach you how to take each block of what you want to do and use it towards building to something greater. And that's something I've learned how to do over the past decade with the SJS Direct imprint. As I started publishing my first book, All About Maryland, in 2009, I kept making efforts to improve the quality of my work, improve the quality of my stories, include the spelling, the punctuation, and grammar. All of those were male life skills that I learned as I went to build the brand and the imprint, and I kept my promise to do something that I promised to do back in 2002 when I published the first ISIS. I went out here and I published the ISIS series. And in addition to publishing the ISIS series, I did the E-Steam series and I did the John Haynes series. And again, that was part of another male life skill that is very important to a young man. And that male life skill is integrity. And integrity is where a man learns to keep his word and to be able to follow through on his word. And it's that following through your word and maintaining your word that allows people to respect you and respect that you are going to be honest and you are going to keep your word. A man with integrity is a man who's going to get great respect. And a man with integrity, when he makes a statement, he is going to follow through on a statement. Now, back in 2002, when I published the first ISIS, I said I wanted to do an ISIS series. And even though I ran into financial setbacks, I wanted to keep my word. So in 2012, on the 10th anniversary of the first publication of the first ISIS, I did publish the first two books in the ISIS series. And that was me maintaining my integrity. And having integrity is very important, because when people see that you are consistent in your actions, consistent in your words, and you follow through on your promises, they know that you are going to be a very reliable person, a dependable person, and they know that they can trust you in doing what you say you're going to do. And oftentimes people would donate money for me to do the covers of the ISIS series. They would send me donations via PayPal, or they'd send it via Patreon. And I could have easily taken that money and just spent it any way I wanted. However, because I have integrity, I often let my readers know that I have paid for these covers and that this is the result of their donations. And that, again, relates to integrity, because a man who keeps his word is going to follow through with action. So that's a male life skill that men have and men get out here. And it's very important for a boy to see integrity, because when a man is consistent in his actions, it makes people be able to trust what he's saying and trust that that things will get done when he's out here. So that's a very important skill for a boy to learn from a man. And it's a very important skill that a boy needs out here if he hopes to go out here and do something significant with his life. Is that he has to have integrity, and he has to have that character, and he has to have that resolve to go out here, because that integrity is a very important skill. I mean, if you don't have integrity, you have a man who you can't trust. And a lot of these women who come from these single mother households, they did not grow up with men who had integrity. And because they grew up with men without integrity, this is why we have one generation of baby daddies after the next. And this is why the boys don't have a model for manhood that allows them to learn the important life skill of integrity. Because a man with integrity, this is a man who women can trust. This is a man who they can go out here and feel secure in. And the thing that is important to a relationship for a woman is not just fiscal security, it is emotional security. And when a man has integrity, a woman can become emotionally secure because she knows she can trust that man, and she knows she can trust that man to look out for her, that man to protect her, and that man to provide for her on a regular basis. So that's an important life skill that a lot of boys aren't getting because they're not seeing integrity modeled for them. They are just seeing that guys lie, and this is being reinforced by the mother, who believes that the man lies. And that's not what a man is all about. A man of character, he understands that his words have meaning, his words have impact, and that he needs to follow through on his word. And he understands that his word is important. So he understands that his integrity is something that he has to really stand by. So when you have a guy out here and he does not have any integrity, his actions have an impact on all the people around him. And this is something that a lot of guys aren't getting because feminists have taught us that men are no good, men are lazy, men are bad. And because they want to project their stereotypes on people about men, we don't get a healthy and balanced picture of manhood or masculinity. So because we're not getting that balanced and healthy picture of manhood and masculinity, this is something that leads to people believing men are these dogs or men are no good. But the whole thing is we don't get the perspective of this woman associated with this man of no character. And because she associated with this man of no character, it's that man who was no good, and it was her choice to be involved with that man that led to her being in this situation with a man who was no good. Darius, how does a beta with no father become an alpha? That's a major challenge, but it can be done. And usually it's done because that man with no father gets around other men. And being around other men is something that's very important for a man with no father, because with the guidance and leadership of other men, he can then learn how to take the lead in his own life, set a direction for his own life, and set a course for his own life. I remember I was watching Last Man Standing on Fox last Sunday, and they had the Tim Allen character with the Kyle character, and everybody was meandering, telling them that we wanted to see Kyle leave the house. And then just the Tim Allen character came to him and said, it's time for you to go. And everybody was like this. They want to feel bad about it. But he did the man thing and said, look, you're a grown man. It's time for you to leave. Time for you to get your own stuff. Time for you to get your own place. And the Kyle character, he took it. He didn't take it bad. He respected the Tim Allen character. And I saw that moment. I was like, this is a man moment. This is what a man telling another man, it's just time for you to go and be your own man. And again, when you have men, when you're around other men, it's going to help you learn how to set a course for yourself, because you're going to see this modeled for you. And then you're going to see other men and learn how to interact with other men. And that's what's going to help you learn how to take the lead in your own life. But the problem with most beta males is they've been around too many women, and they're too busy seeking the attention and approval of women to understand their value as a man. And that's another life skill that other men can teach, is the value of being a man. So when you are in the presence of another man, what he's going to teach you how to do is value yourself as a man, because he loves himself. And when he teaches you how to love yourself, because he loves himself. So that man, just by being there, he's teaching you the value of a man, and indirectly, he's teaching you the value of the role of a man, the value of a work of a man, and the value of a man overall. So that's a very important male life skill to learn, is the value of being a man, the value of being male, the value of being masculine, and the importance of being masculine. That's the things that men teach, but boys aren't getting at home, because when you're in a single mother, female headed household, what you are learning is the value of females and the value of getting the attention and approval of females. And because you are learning the value of getting the attention and approval of females, you are not learning how to value yourself as a man, or the importance of your contributions to the home as a man, or the value of your contributions to the family of a man. Because in our gynocentric society, we're always being taught to value and elevate females instead of appreciating men for being men. Mike, why do men attack men with integrity? That's because a lot of these men want to crap test that other man. And a lot of these guys who come from these, especially single parent households, they don't believe in the integrity of a man, because they have been taught a culture where men are no good, men are bad, men are terrible. And they attack men with integrity because they always believe men are bad. So they don't understand that integrity is something significant to a man. Now, when I would go out here, and I remember I had a cousin who I was living with. He was living with us, actually. And he used to get a little uncomfortable about the idea of me doing things the same way all the time. He didn't understand what I was modeling for him by having a routine and having integrity. And even my own father, he would talk to me and say, well, why do you call me all the same time every day? And again, that's all about integrity. And when you have integrity, that's something that a lot of men aren't used to, especially men from single parent households, where they're not used to consistency, when they're not used to routine, and they're not used to a man, doing things the same way. They're not used to these things, and they don't understand this male life skill, but you have to keep going at it because your integrity is important. Now, they attack you because they're insecure in their masculinity and insecure in their manhood, and they're not comfortable with a man being a man, and they're not uncomfortable with the ideas of male traits or male life skills, and they have never had to experience male life skills. So, hey Daniel, glad to see you here. We're talking about male life skills, and male life skills again are something guys aren't getting these days because we have this man crisis in the West. We have these single mother households, and we have all of these boys who grow up without having a father in their life to model manhood for them. So they don't know how to deal with situations or how to problem solve. And because they don't know how to problem solve, what happens is they wind up not being able to know how to function in situations where they have to go out here and deal with things. They don't know how to deal with anything, and they don't know how to problem solve and work things out. Okay, if you guys want to donate to the Cash App, you can donate to the Cash App. I'm going to leave a link to that in the chat. Mike, are simps the future given the destruction of marriage in the single parent household? They don't have to be, and we can correct the whole simp issue with more men learning male life skills and being taught male life skills. And we can really do some damage to the whole simp thing if men step in. The whole thing is that men weren't able to step in for 50 years because feminists controlled the media, feminists controlled the culture, feminists controlled the narrative, and feminists were out here pushing their agenda. And because we had feminists pushing their agenda, a lot of the men of that generation of the late 60s and early 70s, they adapted by learning how to submit to women. And they taught this culture of simping because these women went out of their way to shame and bully their way into the government and the legal system. And that's what happened. And that's why we got all these beta males. But this can be corrected if men acknowledge the problem, because we are natural problem solvers, and we can go out here and solve this problem by going out of our way to deal with these out-of-pocket feminists and their out-of-pocket behavior. We can change this in a generation or two. You make a good point about Mario Lopez. Yeah, his statement is a pushback. And again, men have to find their backbone and their stones and push back against this gynocentric and feminist culture that created the single mother household. And this is something that men can do, but a lot of men don't want to do it because they're afraid that they will not get opportunities at sex with women. But when it comes down to women, they want to be corrected. They want to be checked. And that's another life skill that relates to male authority, is the ability to communicate with women. Now, a lot of these guys who come up in these single mother households, they don't know how to have relationships with women, because even though they are in the house with a woman, and that's due to them being in a house with a woman where they're in a submissive position. And because they're in a house with a woman in a submissive position, what happens to these men is that they think that they can have the same relationship they had with their mothers with their girlfriends. And what they don't understand is that their relationship with their mother was a dependent relationship, and their relationship with a girlfriend will be interdependent. And unfortunately, because these men grow up learning how to depend on their mothers, they go looking for a relationship with their girlfriends like their mothers, and that leads to them winding up in a codependent relationship with a toxic woman instead of a healthy relationship with a woman who would be a partner to them. So instead of them growing and having a relationship where they take responsibility as a man, they wind up in a state of arrested development with a woman and being in the role of a child. So that's what happens when there's no man there to model a healthy relationship with his mother. And to have a healthy relationship with his mother is we have a man who is going to be out here, and what he does is he looks for his girlfriend to be his mother, and he looks to be in a codependent relationship with this woman, and he's looking for the woman to care for him like a child instead of stepping up to the level of a man. And that's what happens to many of these men who come up in these single mother households, is they're out here looking for a mommy instead of looking to be a man who leads the family. And that's very frustrating for many women out here, because many women out here, they want a man. The women of his peer group of these boys who grow up in single mother households, they're looking for a man to be a leader. They're looking for a man to be a protector. They're looking for a man to be a provider. And they can't find those type of men because they've grown up not learning the male life skill of how to have a relationship with a woman, how to be a leader in a relationship with a woman, how to be a teacher of a woman, how to give guidance to a woman. And women want that type of guy. They want the man who is going to be there as this rock, who's going to be the leader who sets the standard for the home, sets the tone for the home, and sets order in the home. They want that man. And the reason why they want that man is because they don't really want to have that type of responsibility. It's overwhelming for women who are usually wired to do things for short-term needs. They're wired to take care of the home and the children and short-term things, but they want the man there to take care of the long-term. And that's the reason what they want that for, is because they are not wired to handle those type of responsibilities. But the feminist, she wanted that type of power because she envied the man's power. She envied the man's leadership. She envied the man's authority. And because she envied it and coveted the power of a man, she wanted to disrupt the American family. But all that's done is made it harder for her daughters to go out here and have relationships with men, because most women want relationships with men, but they can't find men because those men have not learned the male life skills to go out here and pursue relationships with women. And this is another thing that relates to male life skills is learning how to go out here and actually approach women. This is something most beta males don't know how to do, and they usually get their approaches to women based on either things like Madison Avenue and Hollywood movies and TV shows, or they learn from these so-called players and Macs, and they really don't learn the natural way men and women go out here and court each other. Now, there's a natural way that men and women go out of their way to pursue relationships with each other, but they don't learn that in a home where there is no father. And men who have homes with fathers, they pick up on these things naturally because there are natural social cues, natural tells, and women let themselves be known with these nonverbal cues like looking at a man, smiling, or even brushing up against a guy. And some are bold enough, if you have enough masculine energy, to even approach you. And again, these are things that let a man know that a woman is interested. But most of these boys who grow up in single mother households, and grow up with these dysfunctional males around them, they learn how to be these so-called ladies' men, these so-called players, and they learn how to use these corny lines and stuff that they pick up from movies, and they never learn about the natural way men and women relate to each other. And most men and women relate to each other by the things they have in common, and they learn how to relate based on the natural masculine energy of a man. So a lot of times there will be women who will be interested in a guy, but because a guy has grown up with all this Madison Avenue and Hollywood nonsense, and even things from the porn industry, what he will do is try to chase these ideal women, and he won't learn how to go out of his way to learn about the women who are naturally attracted to him and see those women who are naturally attracted to him as suitable partners and suitable helpmeets. So he's looking for this fantasy image of a woman and not a real image of a woman, or seeing the real women who are around him who are expressing interest in him. So you have a lot of these males out here who do not know how to go out here and court a woman, or even know how to see what women are attracted to him, or even understand that what you present of yourself is what you're going to attract. And again, these are life skills a father is going to teach his son. He's going to teach him to look out for the girls who are looking at him, and that's what he's going to learn naturally. But when you have these beta males from these single mother households, what they learn is to look for a fantasy and not look at the real women around them. Because again, real women around you, they're going to let you know that they're interested very early on, and they're going to try to make their move very early on so that you can make your move. And again, this is all part of things that the father is going to teach you, not just to just go up and talk to women, but understand and identify those women, because those women, again, they're going to let you know almost immediately that they're interested, because most women know what type of guy they're interested in for a romantic or sexual relationship within 5 seconds of looking at him. And after that 5 seconds of looking at him, then they are going to not engage in a nonverbal cue. So that's what they're going to do. Like Immore Joe, what they're going to do is throw out nonverbal cues. They're going to give you a smile. They're going to give you a look. And some of them, they may bump into you. And even the more bolder ones, they may just come out and just say that they want to do something. And other women, they'll introduce themselves, and then they'll wait for you to engage them. So women will let a man know that they're interested, but a lot of these guys out here, they don't get that male life skill of how to court the opposite sex, and they don't learn those basics. And because they don't learn those basics, what happens is they wind up getting involved with predatory females who can put on the makeup that makes them appear like their fantasy. And then those women make their lives a nightmare in reality once they become baby mamas, or they try to pass off kids they had by other men and try to get child support on a dude. And that's all because the boy does not get the male life skill as related to going out here and courting and knowing how to attract the opposite sex and how to present himself to attract the opposite sex. Another life skill, again, a man can only teach a boy because a man knows he has to do this in order to get involved with his mother, and he understands that this is how he goes out here and he's done it, so he knows how to teach his son how to do it. Moreover, you have the father who can take a minute and when he sees his son making mistakes, then talk to him about the mistakes he is making. And it's those things that he teaches him that help him learn how to correct course. It's not really that confusing anymore, Joe. When it comes down to women, some women will be nice, but a lot of them will let you know early on. There's a look that they will give you. There is body language they will give you. When a woman is engaging you, you have to look for certain tells and social cues. And again, when you have a father, he can tell you what to look for so you can know whether she's interested in you. And again, she will let you know by doing things. I mean, she's going to give you, because I've had women give me phone numbers and stuff like that. It's not a problem. When you're a man and you just radiate masculine energy and you're confident, what's going to happen is those women are going to want to be with you. And again, they will want to engage you, but it's about how you engage them. And a lot of guys, they never learn how to engage women early on. And that's why we've got this whole bumper crop of these incels out here, because these men never got those male life skills and they never learned how to go out here and identify women, because they're so busy chasing a fantasy and then blaming an imaginary Chad and an imaginary Tyrone. And it's not a Chad or a Tyrone. It's the fact that you learn these female life skills, and these female life skills are the reason why you are not connecting with the women who actually are interested in you. For example, when you look at Elliot Rodger and you've watched Elliot Rodger videos, he is extremely effeminate, and he's so busy chasing the fantasy of a blonde sorority girl that he couldn't see any of the other women out here. And the whole sexual marketplace is so filled with promiscuous women that Elliot Rodger could have had any woman that he wanted, but because he had tunnel vision like most simps do, he was looking for this fantasy woman, and he didn't understand that fantasies aren't real, and that those women who you see who are fantasies, most of them are wearing extensions, most of them are wearing makeup, and most of those women you have nothing in common with. So that woman has no interest in you because she has nothing in common with you. So he missed out on opportunities. And again, because he had a beta male father who was talking about buying him friends and not teaching him these male life skills himself, he didn't learn the male life skills he needed to go out here and be able to connect with people and be able to connect with others. Thank you, Ibmore Joe, for the donation. Again, if you guys want to donate to the Super Chat, you can donate to the Super Chat. And if you want to donate to the Cash App, you can donate to the Cash App. And that's a good point, Eben and Rage. Yeah, you never lead with your thirst. And that goes right back to the male life skill of self-control, because women want to see you have control. When you're thirsty, it's a sign of weakness. And when you see a weak man, women will look at him and not have any respect for him. So she will show you interest, but you have to have discipline and self-control as you engage her. And the more self-control you have, the more interested she's going to become. So that's a male life skill that you learn, but a lot of guys, they aren't learning it. And a lot of guys aren't learning it, and they're becoming awkward in situations. They're making mistakes. And those mistakes are costing them as related to good opportunities with a woman who is actually interested. So this just happens. But again, male life skills, this is something a man only knows because, again, he is going out here and he's engaged women. He spent time with women, and they have let him know what they're interested in. and he knows what to look for, and he knows what to teach his son what to look for, and he knows better than anyone. And that when you have a father there to teach you, you don't need to go to pickup artists, you don't need to go to dating coaches, you don't need to go and get those guys, because you have a man at home, and this man is teaching you what you need to know in order to go out here and have a successful relationship with the opposite sex. And he's had that success. And because he's had that success, he can then teach his son how to have the same success. And this is a male life skill, again, that an entire generation of boys is lacking, because we see this whole rise in this whole incel culture. And the incel culture, again, is because we have no fathers to teach the male life skill of how to have a relationship with the opposite sex. So he does not teach. He's not there to teach. So the boy is trying to learn, and he's watching a lot of these movies, and he doesn't understand that movies are scripted entertainment, pornography is scripted, and he's not getting that healthy picture as related to how men interact with the opposite sex. So he's not getting that male life skill, and it's that male life skill that will allow him to have a relationship with a woman, but he's not getting it because there's no father in the home. And again, people don't really value the fathers these days, but it's those male life skills that that father teaches that allow a boy to function in the world. And that those male life skills, again, they are extremely important, but they are undervalued in our society. And because they are undervalued in our society, this is why so many boys are just having so much trouble these days in being able to go out here and function in the world. This is why so many men out here are struggling to go out here and even try to look for a job, which is another male life skill, because only a man can teach a boy how to look for a job. Only a man can teach a boy how to work and pass an interview. Only a man can teach a boy what he needs to know in order to conduct himself during a job interview. And only a man can teach them these things, because a man has to go out in the world of work. And because we've had a gynocentric culture and a feminist culture over the last 50 years in this society, what has happened is the male life skill of looking for work and the male life skill of understanding how the world of work works has fallen completely apart. And the reason why it's fallen apart is because there is no father to prepare his son for the job market by teaching him that you go to a job dressed in a suit and a tie because you want to show respect for the employer and you want to show respect for their professional environment. And you conduct yourself with a professional manner so that you can show that those employers that you are serious about doing business for them. There is no father to teach this. And as a result of boys not learning the male life skill of how to work in the world of work, what has happened is we've gotten a lot of these guys out here who are going to job interviews in jeans and flip-flops. We've gotten guys going to interviews unkempt with dirty hair and dirty clothes. And this is all, again, due to the single mother environments, because most single mothers coddle their sons and they coddle their boys and they make excuses for them instead of making them rise to the standard of a workplace and rise to the standards of men. A man with his son, he's going to make his son rise to a higher standard so he can go out in the world and function in places like the workplace. And he's going to make his son rise to that standard because he understands the only person who's going to take care of his son when he leaves the house is his son. And his son has to be prepared to be able to take care of himself once he leaves the home. So he's going to make him rise to a higher standard. He's going to push him to rise to a higher standard. And he's going to do that, again, because the boy needs to learn these skills in order to survive. And one of the things that the father's going to do is he's going to insist that his son start putting in effort to go to work at an early age. And again, he wants to instill that work ethic, and he wants to prepare his son so he can go out here and be able to make a living for himself, and then learn the skills on how to connect with others so he can move forward in advancing in making that living for himself. So what a father is going to do is he's going to prepare his son again for that world of work by making him rise to that standard, and he's going to make him go out and work at an early age, because he knows that the younger he learns how to work at an early age, the faster he's going to get out here and adapt to the job market, and the faster he's going to go out here and develop skills. I don't have children, street law colonel. I would have wanted to have them, but unfortunately, I wasn't able to keep full-time employment long enough to be able to build that way, but I'm trying to build right now. But I'm at this age, I'm 45, so I can't really have children right now. I wanted to have them when I was younger, but things just didn't work out that way. But a lot of these guys out here, they're not learning in these single mother households. And again, the mothers coddle the boys. They dress the boys in these street clothes. And then some of them, what they do with these boys, as they're in these flip-flops or these Air Jordan sneakers and sagging pants, they're going with them to these job interviews, not understanding how dysfunctional this looks. They're going to this man's interview, and what they're doing is talking for him, and he never learns how to be a man on his own, because the whole job interview process, that's a masculine life skill, and it's all about you being a man and you being man enough to go to this employer and show him why you deserve this job, why you were qualified for this job, or why you want this job. You are coming in to represent yourself. And when you have a boy from a single mother household, what she does is she enables the boy to remain dysfunctional. And instead of him learn how to value working for himself, what happens is he learns to take work for granted, because his mother takes work for granted, because her work ethic is different from his work ethic. And because his mother's work ethic is about her working for supplemental money to supplement the home, he learns that his money supplements the home, and he learns that he can quit jobs because mommy will be there to take care of him. And that's not the way a man works, because a man understands if he doesn't work, he doesn't eat. And if he doesn't go out here and put in hard effort, he's not going to wind up with anything. And that's what a man learns early on, is that if he goes out here and takes a job, he has to keep that job, because the only way for him to live is to go out here and make that living for himself. The only way for him to make money is for himself. So he has to go out here and make those efforts for himself. And he is the only one who's going to care for himself. So most men understand that they have to teach their sons how to take care of themselves at an early age. But your feminist, she sits there and thinks men and women are equal, and that men will learn how to take care of themselves in a home with a woman. Unfortunately, what happens in most homes is that this is how you wind up with this beta male who sits on his mother's couch. And this is how you wind up with a man who sits on the couch playing Xbox all day, or he's bickering and arguing with another man on social media over his opinions. He makes absolutely no efforts whatsoever to build himself up, and he makes no efforts to build because he doesn't know how to build, and he's dependent on the women to care for him, and the women maintain a low standard for him and have low expectations of him. And because the women have low expectations of him, he never aspires to do anything better than what he's doing. And again, that is because there is no father to teach another male life skill as related to standards, and that is to aspire to be better, aspire to be better, and to demand better of people. And that's something a father teaches his son, is to demand better, because he has high standards. and to expect better of his son than the minimum, because the father is going to expect better of his sons. He's not going to expect substandard because he has a standard, and he's going to expect his sons to meet the standards he has set up because he had to go out here and meet standards in order to maintain the home. So that's a skill that, again, is important because fathers have expectations of their sons. They have standards for their sons, and they demand that their sons go out here and do better and be better. Now, when it comes down to their sons, fathers have one thing as related to perseverance, and that is they always push their sons. And pushing is something that a father does to their sons. When a son feels like he wants to give up, when a son feels like he wants to quit, the father will come in here and encourage the son to go out here and try again, or this father will go out of his way to teach the son to try something different. And this is another thing as related to your perseverance, is that the father will tell the son that, yes, you have to persist at things, but the whole thing is you have to find an approach that works. Now, when it comes down to these guys from these single mother households, what happens is the mother just tells him to try again, but what she doesn't understand is she doesn't teach him to try something different. And because the boy learns to do the exact same thing and he fails again, what he's learning is the definition of insanity, because the definition of insanity is to do the exact same thing and expect a different result. And a lot of these boys, what they do in single mother households is learn how to go insane because they keep trying to use the same approach over and over again, and usually use the same approach with the exact same people. I talk about that in depth in Stop Simping, Why Men Don't Need Finance to Get Romance, and I talk about it in The Man Crisis, and I also talk about it in Stop Simping in the Workplace, because boys who grow up in single mother households, they don't learn that, yes, things didn't work the first time, but you have to go out here and you try again, but you try again in a different fashion. And that's a male life skill, and that's something a man teaches the boy, because he understands that, yes, you may fail the first time, but you learn from the failure, you learn what you did wrong, and then you go and try something else. You don't keep trying with the exact same person or trying the exact same thing, because what didn't work before will not work again. And that's something, again, a father is going to teach. But when you have the single mother household, she's thinking she can teach perseverance, but in actuality, she's driving the boy to insanity. Glad to see you here, Born Saver. Yeah, the mother and the boy are insane, but she's teaching him insanity, because what doesn't work, and you're not going to make it work by doing it again and again. But when you have a boy who doesn't learn male life skills, he doesn't learn the difference between perseverance and persistence, and he doesn't understand that when something doesn't work, there's a reason why it doesn't work. He's just trying to do things based on feelings because he's emotional, but oftentimes going on feelings doesn't work. You need to have critical thinking, and you need to have logic and reason in order to balance out things so that you can go out here and solve the problem. And again, these are all male life skills. And when you don't get male life skills as a boy, it leads to you heading down a road of trouble when you grow up to become a man. Because when you grow up to become a man and you don't get male life skills, you wind up not being able to understand how the world works for men. Now, the other male life skill that a man learns from his father and men in the community is about the intangibles of manhood. And the intangibles of manhood, these are life skills that, again, only a father can teach his son. Because a father understands that in addition to the tangibles of manhood, there are intangibles of manhood. And these intangibles of manhood, these relate to a man's internal character. Now, I've gone over some of them, like the integrity, which is an important intangible of manhood, but there are other intangibles of manhood like dignity. And dignity is a man understanding his value as a man again. And because he understands he has value, he is not willing to compromise himself or compromise his character in order to do things. Now, a lot of guys who come from single mother households, they don't understand what the concept of dignity is. And they'll go out here in order to get the attention of a woman or a more popular guy, and they'll start brown nosing and bootlicking. And what they're doing is they're showing people that they have no value, because these men don't understand what dignity is, and they don't understand what dignity is at all. So they're sitting there going out here doing things like buck dancing and bojangling for some white guy, and that's a black man with no dignity. And then you have the guys out here who are simping on women and begging for their attention. And again, they are showing people they have no dignity. And when you show people you have no dignity, what you are doing is showing people you have no value. And when you show people when you have no value, guess what? They have no reason to respect you. And that's all due to the way a lot of guys are raised in these single mother households. They're learning, oh, I can get people to like me, but they don't understand that like and respect are two different things. And again, as related to the intangibles of manhood, dignity is an important one. And then there is the self-respect, which is another important thing that relates to dignity. And that is when a man understands that he has value and he's not going to present himself in a way that lowers his value. And that's what a father teaches his son, that you got to have some self-respect for yourself, and you're not going to go out here and lower your value so that others can get attention from you. Because when you do that, you are lowering your value, and that what you're actually doing is decreasing your chances of getting the attention that you want. More importantly, you are losing the ability to get respect from others, and you're showing people that they don't need to respect you because you don't value yourself and you don't value what you're presenting about yourself. Because when you have no self-respect, what you're doing is you're willing to degrade yourself. And when you degrade yourself, guess what? People will feel like it's okay to degrade you. So that's what happens when there's no father in the home to pull a boy's chain and check him and say, look, the way you're acting is embarrassing. And it's embarrassing because it's showing that you don't respect yourself and you're doing anything to get this attention. It's similar to what we're seeing right now with a lot of these males out here, like the one I saw who opened up an Arizona iced tea and spit in the Arizona iced tea just to get views on one of these social media sites. That's a man with no dignity. That's a man with no self-respect. And again, it's a man who never learned how he is supposed to be a man, because a man who understands dignity and self-respect understands those that he is worth more than those views that he's going to get on social media. And what people are seeing on social media is a man that they don't need to take seriously, because this man does not respect himself in any way, shape, or form. And this is what happens when there's no father in the home. The same thing with the twerkers, like Eben and Raised Rage has just said. This is what happens when there's no father in the home to pull the girl's chain and say, look, the way you're presenting yourself is disrespectful to yourself. It shows that you don't have any sense of self-worth. You don't have any dignity, because when you go out here and put your butt up in front of people, what you're doing is saying that your butt is the most important thing, the most valuable thing about you. And the whole thing is, if you want to be respected, you want people to look at your face and see your face, and you want them to look you in the eye and look you in the eye, because when people look you in the eye, it shows that they want to respect you and they respect your position. So that's what a father does with his male life skills, is he teaches people how to respect him, and he teaches his son how to respect himself. And he teaches his son about having that, again, that integrity, that strength of character, and that discipline. And these are things that a father teaches as it related to the intangibles of manhood. And the more important tangible of manhood a father teaches a boy is the concept of respect. Now, this concept of respect is very important for a boy because a lot of boys out here, because they grow up in single mother households, they have learned this concept of like. Now, like is a feeling, and because most women are emotional, they think like is a good thing. And this is what has so many people going on social media like Facebook, pulling stunts and doing things like making these videos, licking ice cream and putting it back in the freezer, is they're looking to get likes. That's why we have all these Instagram models with their butts up in the air, and they're looking to get likes. And like is, again, an emotion based on feeling. Like is emotional. A man understands that like has no value because like is something that can come and like is something that can go. However, respect is something that is not going to go anywhere, because when people have respect for another person, they value that person based on their intangibles, and they value that person because they see a worth in that person, because that worth was shown to them by that person's behavior. That's what a person shows people when they get respect. And again, respect is something a man doesn't really today understand to appreciate, because when you have respect, that means you have something of tremendous value. And even though a man may disagree with you, what he's going to do is he's going to understand you as a man are someone he regards highly. So respect means that that man or that woman regards you highly, and that they look up to you as someone that they regard in the same way they regard themselves. So a lot of boys out here, they're not getting the male life skill of understanding to look for respect. They're so busy looking for like that they think that the short-term attention of like is good. However, the long-term concept of respect, this is something boys are not being taught to understand is important. And it's a male life skill that is tremendously important for men to learn how to respect other men. Because when a man respects another man, that's going to show that he's going to treat that man in the same way he would want to be treated. So that's why respect is extremely important for a man to have, and extremely important for a life skill for him to learn. Because men who respect other men, what they're going to do, like in the case if they see a woman that they like, what they're going to do, if that woman says she has a boyfriend, he's going to respect that man's personal space because he wants his personal space respected. And if he sees another man, he's going to respect that other man because he wants that same respect given to him. So he understands that respect is important. And even on the job, he's going to respect another man because, he wants that same respect for himself. And again, respect comes from him valuing other people. And a lot of times, boys don't get the male life skill of understanding respect. And that's why we have guys out here doing things like trying to get guys fired off their jobs, or going out here and trying to have affairs with women who are already married or have boyfriends. Well, they do this because they have no respect for other men. They don't value other men, and they don't value what other men have done. So instead of them learning to respect and acknowledge the hard work of another man, or respect the relationship of another man, or respect the personal space of another man, we get these males out here who think that they can just trample over other men, destroy something another man has built, or tear down what another man is built. And that's all because they believe that they have this inflated value and that they're better than everybody else. But a man who respects other men understands a man has a right to his space and that you have a right to your space. And when you have a man who understands what respect is, He respects that other man's space. He respects that other man's spot. And he's not going to step in that other man's spot because he doesn't want him to come in and step in his spot and make a mess of his spot. So you're going to have respect. And respect is the most important intangible a father teaches his son. And again, he models that respect to people because he wants his son to understand that he has to respect others. And he does that by respecting his mother. He does that respecting his wife, by respecting his children. And again, he teaches respect every day. And he teaches respect with every behavior he participates in. Now, the other male life skill a man teaches is related to structure. And this is about setting boundaries. And respect and boundaries go together because when a man builds something, he builds something to be his own space. And he sets not only a physical boundary for his property, but he also sets a boundary for his family that's intangible. And it's these lines in the sand that he sets as related to rules and structure that allow people to understand how to function. So you have a father, when he's in the home, he sets boundaries like saying things like, you can watch TV for 2 hours or go on the internet for 2 hours, and that's a boundary. And he tells you not to go into certain things, and again, that's a boundary. And the boundaries he sets are not only to protect you, but to protect others as well. So he's protecting people with these boundaries, and again, they keep everybody safe. Moreover, they teach you how to respect other people's space, and they teach you how to respect other people's property. Because when you set boundaries, they allow people to understand that they can go a certain point, and that once you go past that certain point, you're going too far. So a father, he sets boundaries for everyone, and it's those boundaries that keep people, again, safe and protected, and they also keep the home in order. So boundaries are something that a father teaches to his son, and they help people, again, understand how the structure of the home works. They understand how the structure of the family works. They understand how the structure of the environment works. And these are how they build the structure overall for the entire home. So it's very important to have boundaries in your home. Boundaries, they're an intangible that a father teaches, but most mothers, single mothers, don't do a good job of establishing boundaries, enforcing boundaries, or maintaining boundaries the way a father would in the home. Because most women, because they're emotional, what they do, the minute they impose a penalty on a boy for violating the boundaries, is they wind up letting up on the boy. And then instead of him learning how to respect the rules of the home, the structure of the home, and the order of the home, he learns he can steamroll over the mother. And then that boy does not learn how to respect the home. And then he does not learn how to respect other people in the home. And he does not learn how to respect people outside of the home. And that's all because he does not learn the concept of boundaries. And again, boundaries are taught by fathers. And fathers teach this because this is a male life skill a boy needs to learn in order to go out in the world. Because if you don't learn the concept of boundaries, you're going to wind up crossing lines. And those lines that you cross will wind up with you in the face of law enforcement, or even getting you where you can either get arrested. And in some cases, if you're at the job, if you cross the boundaries there, you can get written up, or you can wind up terminated. Black Betty, the women behind me are E-Steam and ISIS, and those are the characters in the books of the ISIS series and the E-Steam series. You can see they're the characters I've written and created. ISIS is the goddess next door, who is featured in the 2019's ISIS All That Glitters, and she's featured in the ISIS series books, which are available on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle formats. And E-Steam is Hell's Aspiring Angel, and she used to be the Devilish Diva. She was inspired by Sally Richardson, actress Sally Richardson, And whenever I write the narration, she sounds like her. So she's an Esteemed Goddess of, which is now available on Amazon in paperback, Kindle, and Kindle Unlimited formats. And again, you can get both books on Amazon in paperback and Kindle formats. Um, but that's who was behind me. I had those commissioned by Terry Beatty for the 10th anniversary of ISIS. And again, that was to launch the ISIS series. Um, Rabbi asks, what about in lesbian couples with one acting like a man? That does not substitute for a father because women do not know how to be a man. No matter what a lesbian tries to do, she cannot be a man. She imitates the outside behavior of a man, but she cannot do the things that a man does because God created man to be out here, and he created men to go out here and do a certain purpose, participate in a certain work, and the woman can't do that work. In order for things to work on God's earth, you need the man and the woman. And a lesbian, even though she can imitate the behaviors of a man, she does not understand the internal workings of a man. She does not understand the internal process of a man because, again, the way the world works for men is completely different than it was for women. And men have a natural male life skills that only a man knows. These are hardwired into men, and they teach their sons these male life skills because they know they have to go out into the world, and they have been out in the world. So they're the only ones who can prepare their sons to go out in that world and develop those skills that they need. So a lesbian, as much as she'd like to try, she cannot do what a man can do. The same way a woman, a effeminate man, can't do the same things a woman can do. It's just biologically impossible because biologically, God made men and women to be different, and he made men and women to be two completely different species. They're the same species, but they're two completely different genders. And the male and the female have to work together in order to raise balanced children. So that's the only way you get balanced children is through a heterosexual masculine man and a heterosexual masculine woman. On Friday, Rob, I'm going to be talking about simps in the goth subculture. After watching Angela Benedict's live stream last week, I understand that I need to get out here in front of that one. So I'm going to be doing simps in the goth subculture because I've heard so many guys out here telling me that there's so much simping in the scene, and I really want to sit down and really talk to a lot of guys in the scene so they can learn about predatory females and learn about what simping is. So I'm going to do simps in the goth subculture for Friday's live stream. That's going to be at 10. And I'm doing that one because, again, I had promised to do that one as part of my integrity, but it's also something that I believe a lot of guys in the scene know. I mean, we've got a lot of women in the goth subculture on YouTube, but when I look at a lot of the guys out there, they're not really getting the stuff that I give guys in live streams like this one, or I do when I'm doing appearances on Obsidian to promote things like the Man Crisis or on things like the Judge Joe Brown Show. I usually do different topics there. I started doing things like talking about introversion, and this also relates to that introversion because a lot of guys who are introverts, they really don't get those male life skills, and that's why I'm going to be doing the simping in the goth subculture because some guys in the scene have sat down and told me, yeah, there's a lot of simping going on over there, and I want to address it because I want to do heavier topics as related to the goth subculture, just like I do over here when I'm talking about the male life skills. Again, these are skills that guys aren't getting today, and they desperately need them. But because we live in a gynocentric culture, feminists have sat there and told us, oh, we don't need a father in the home to raise a boy to be a man. But what we're seeing is a lot of malfunctioning, short-circuiting beta males, and these males don't know how to function in the world because they weren't given male life skills, and because there was no father to teach them male life skills. That's what's leading to so many men going out here. They're getting frustrated, they're getting angry, they don't know how to make the world work out here, And because they don't know how to make the world work out here, they're getting angry and they're exploding in this rage. And as they explode in this rage, they're participating in these acts of violence because they're trying to make something work, not understanding that the way that they were taught how to work with these female life skills, what's happening is they are going insane because they're trying to do the exact same things and expecting a different result. And that's just not how it works. And the thing is that what's sad is most of these boys, they need to be taught male life skills because it's the male life skills that are going to help them. However, we have demonized men in media so long that we're not able to reach those boys. And anytime a man tries to sit down and talk to a boy, he is demonized, attacked, and assaulted in some cases, all because he's trying to sit down and talk to other men in order to help them. Now, I would, even after I lost my job back in 2008, it was even though I had my father and my brother in my life, it was the guys on YouTube that really helped me put things in perspective. Guys like Mr. Superboy, Dan Freeman, Rick Scorpio, Big B Kel, Iceman, many of these male YouTubers and T-Mot, all these guys taught me about manhood and masculinity on another level, and they helped me get through one of the darkest periods in my life after I lost that job. If it wasn't for those men talking about things and helping me understand I wasn't alone. Yeah, David Carroll was there and many others, but I continue to learn. And again, it's all because you have other men out here who can teach you what you need to know. And that's why I write books like The Man Crisis, because I know so many guys out here have grown up in these single mother households. And because they've grown up in the single mother household, all they've learned is a female perspective. And they don't understand that there are skills that they need out here to learn. So a man out here, he needs to learn male life skills. And that's one of the reasons why I do the books. That's one of the reasons why I do the videos, because I know that there's so many guys out here who don't have a father in their life, and they need to learn these skills in order to go out here and function. And some guys out here, they have learned early on as they watch my videos and other guys' videos, and it's really helped them, really grow. And that's one of the things I wanted to do, was be able to help guys, because I want them to be able to have success in their lives, and I want them to be able to take themselves to the next level. So that's what I want to do with this type of live stream, because I know so many guys out here, they don't get those male life skills, and then they wind up being vulnerable because there's nobody there to teach them, because women cannot teach a boy to be a man. They can't teach them how to set a course for their life. They can't teach them how to set a direction in their life. And a lot of women, they're looking for the schools to do this, but the schools can't do this. The father's role is an important role in our society. It is a role that needs to be valued in our society. It is one that needs to be appreciated in our society. And it's one that really needs to be given the proper respect it deserves, because the role of the father is one of the most important roles. I mean, God made the father just like he has his father, just like Jesus, his son, has the role of submitting to God, his father. We have the fathers in the home who are supposed to be just like God, who is the creator of the universe, who is the steward over the earth. And then you have Jesus, who he has as the ruler over the earth, and again, the steward again. Well, God is a steward of the universe, and Jesus is a steward over the earth. And then you have man, who's supposed to be the steward over the overall earth and the day-to-day operations. Again, it's all part of God's natural order. And when you have the father devalued, what's going to happen is things are going to plunge into chaos. And that's what we've got right now, because when you don't have fathers in their roles and you don't have a father in the home, what's going to happen is your boy is not going to learn the life skills that he needs to survive. And and when he doesn't learn those life skills, he then learns how to become one of these dysfunctional males out here. And instead of him learning how to depend on the living God, he becomes codependent on women. And that's why your communities have fallen completely apart. I'm sorry, Lois, about your son passing away. I'm really sorry to hear that. And I'm sorry for your loss. But when it comes down to These boys out here, they need a father. They need male life skills. They need male leadership. And this is something no one wants to talk about, but I want to go out of my way to talk about it, because when you have people out here, they need that type of knowledge, because with that type of knowledge, they can grow. And a lot of guys, I've seen them really grow and progress from some of my videos and my books. And again, I believe that male life skills are something very important for every boy to learn. And the more boys who learn male life skills, the better a society we're going to have as related to men. And we're going to be able to make efforts to make inroads in the man crisis. I'm going to get ready to wrap this stream up. I want to thank everybody for coming out to this afternoon's live stream. And if you want to learn more about male life skills, you can pick up my book, The Man Crisis, on Amazon.com in paperback, Kindle format, and you can also pick it up on Smashwords, the iBookstore, and now you can pick it up on Google Play. And I really want to get the sales of my fiction up, so I would really appreciate it if you guys would pick up John Haynes' Dark Succubus on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle formats, Isis, All That Glitters in paperback and Kindle formats, and Esteemed Goddess of in paperback and Kindle formats. And you can get all three of these books on Amazon if you have Kindle Unlimited subscription for free, and you can read them for free. And if you want to see me do more live streams like this, you can donate to my Patreon by clicking the link in the chat. So you can donate to my Patreon by clicking the link in the chat and dropping a donation. I'm trying to raise funds for an ISIS graphic novel, and I'm using the Patreon funds to do that. Or you can donate via Cash App, and you can donate through there. Every donation I use for book covers and to pay for the ISIS graphic novel and to pay for the internet that allows me to do these live streams. So if you guys could really drop some money on those, I would really appreciate it as well. I want to thank everybody for coming to the stream. And I hope you'll be there for Friday's stream, where I'll be talking about simps in the goth subculture.